really meant. And what he really meant was that, and Ramaswami was explaining, yes, that the Lord gives the intelligence, and by the intelligence, that's how the Lord speaks, through the intelligence. And then Prabhupada said, no, Krishna is speaking to me directly. So Prabhupada was explaining that his purports are his devotional ecstasies, which means that Krishna is revealing this knowledge to him. And in Prabhupada's ecstasy, he would dictate what Krishna was revealing. And Prabhupada was writing and writing, not writing like this, but dictating to his dictaphone. All of his purports, all of his books, all of his translations, like that. So that's Shastra, it's the absolute truth. And in the same way, these bhajans by these great souls, same thing. Beautiful poems, beautiful music, expressing the most heartfelt of devotional feelings that a great soul will have and that we're aspiring to have as well. And so the feelings and the glorification of the Lord, we're very much fond of singing Gaur bhajans, or Nityananda bhajans, because, well, for one, Ajamil Prabhu is from Bengal, and they're written in Bengali. So Ajamil Prabhu has he has an aptitude for singing anything, to speak of songs in Bengali. So he can really express. I was listening last night, and he was singing Bulia Tamari, and he knows just which words to stress. We can sing the words and we can sing the tune, right? But if he sings low class, he lies. So we understand on a different level. And Krishna is doing all these things just to increase the love and the loving reciprocation between himself and his devotees. So this anger is an expression of love for Krishna. It's not an expression of frustrated, unfulfilled sense gratification. Expression of love, just like Prabhupada would get angry every so often with a rascal, because the rascal was offending Krishna. And if someone you love is offended, you should get angry. If you don't, there's something wrong, right? You're getting angry out of love and affection for that person, because this person is vilifying the one you love, or someone who's innocent. So in this way, there is such a thing as transcendental anger. So, Lord Nityananda, personification of supreme transcendental bliss, devoid of any concept of false ego. Nitai wanders about the town. That's why, one reason he was such an effective preacher, no false ego. A person without any false ego is very attractive, right? Very easy to approach, to be with, always wanting to serve, very humble. False ego means pride. A person thinking that the world revolves around him or her, right? Not very pleasant to be with. So, because he was free from false ego, he was able to implore others so humbly, just please take to the chanting of the holy name. And he wasn't afraid to approach anyone, and no fears, no sense of false identity to protect. So, there he is, wandering about the town, giving the holy name, going from door to door in the residences of the most fallen and wretched souls. He freely distributes the gift of the Harinam Mahamantra. So much comes to mind, actually. How Prabhupada represented so nicely the mood of Lord Nityananda, so nicely. Prabhupada did not make any distinction who was fit, who was unfit to receive love of God. He went to as many countries in the world as he could, And he sent his devotees to as many countries in the world as he could send them, regardless of the color, the race, location. He sent devotees everywhere. So he wasn't considering who was fit, who was unfit. And free from false ego, Prabhupada went out. And he wanted to give Krishna consciousness to everybody. And if you read Prabhupada's purports, this comes out very, very clearly regarding Prabhupada's mood of spreading this holy name of the Supreme Lord everywhere, every town and village. So, freely distributes the gift of the Harinam Mahamantra. He exclaims to whomever he sees while holding straw between his teeth, "Please, purchase me by worshipping Gaur Hari." And we were invited to somebody's home. And we got there and they were so offensive towards Krishna and Prabhupada. So offensive. And Subala got angry. And they said, to see, a sadhu doesn't get angry, you're not a sadhu. He said, well, this sadhu gets angry. And continued chastising. So, that's transcendental anger. But normally, in other words, if your false ego is affected while you're out there, and those of you who have been out there in public, there are people that are quite impolite, to say the least, sometimes. And they'll push your buttons, see where your false ego is, somehow or other. Whoever attempts to give Krishna consciousness, those are the things that will happen. Especially in Kali Yuga. One who wants to give Krishna consciousness to others is risking insult, injury, all these things. So if we get angry, then people become averse to that communication. It becomes a very unpleasant interaction. And not only does the interaction become unpleasant, you offend the other person, you lose your ability to think clearly, because when you're angry, you become deluded. Right? So it leads to. And then you waste your time. And then afterwards, you walk away trying to justify what a rascal the other person is. And you spend how much time doing that before you realize, well, maybe you shouldn't have responded in that way. And you realize that actually, why did I waste so much time? As Prabhupada says, the dogs may bark, but the caravan goes on. What did he mean by that? Just like if you're walking down the street, and a dog in the front yard, a little fence around, the dog starts barking and barking. So what do? You stop, start yelling at the dog and barking back and getting into some kind of argument, trying to reason with the dog? No, just keep walking. Right? So sometimes people will bark like dogs, but we shouldn't let whatever dog is within us start barking back. We just realize who we are, who they are. This poor person is suffering like anything. The person is in illusion, ignorant of the values of life, probably not very happy. And so we feel sorry, we feel compassion. And if we respond that way, and anyone who's distributed books or been in a situation like that, if you respond nicely, sooner or later, and it's happened to everyone, that person, even though that person walks away, you say, well, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Sometimes that person will come back later and say, well, what was that book called? Oh yeah, my friend told me about that. Maybe I'll take a copy after all. It's happened to me. Has it happened to any devotees here who distributed books? It happens. Because that person's anger or frustration with you or whatever becomes mitigated because you're responding so nicely. That person becomes attracted to that. Another example is that sometimes when we're doing Harinam, downtown San Diego, we used to go downtown San Diego every day. We had a big training program. We'd take the devotees down there, big plaza, we'd be chanting. And every once in a while, a Christian preacher would take root there, especially when they'd see us. And there was one who had the loudest voice that I ever heard in my life. So many names we used to call him. And he'd be saying such nasty things, and once in a while he'd put his megaphone down and he'd start going at it with us. And people would crowd around, and he'd tell us how we're going to hell and this and that, and we'd try to reason with him a little bit. We wouldn't actually be talking to him. We'd be talking to all the people that would be around, because we knew it was useless to talk to him. But the other people were hearing. And so often they would say, after the interchange was finished, that, you people are so nice, you're calm, and you make sense when you talk. These people are so loud and fanatic, they're not hearing a word, they can't reason. So people notice, they notice how one is conducting oneself in public. And that becomes very attractive. But if we become angry and upset, that doesn't look very attractive at all. It's explained that if you're on television, for example, only something like 10% of what you say, people are, when they're absorbing you as a person, they only absorb 10% of what you say. The other 90% is how you look, how you're responding, and so on. That's why they spend millions of dollars figuring out how this particular candidate is going to dress, what color tie he's going to wear, polka dots or stripes, and the makeup. I remember somebody lost a debate with Nixon or somebody because of his makeup. All these things, because they know it's how you look and all of those other things, but not what you say so much. So everything counts. Everything counts. And Prabhupada gave us so much instruction about how to appear when we preach Krishna consciousness, when we try to communicate this message. So much instruction. If you look in Prabhupada's letters, the database, so much is there about how to give Krishna consciousness to others. Maharaj Prabhu and I, we did a study on this when we gave a month-long seminar. It was called The Making of a Highly Effective Preacher. And it included so many aspects, like actual preaching and organization of the preaching, and teamwork, cooperation, so many things were there. And we found so much that Prabhupada said about giving Krishna consciousness to others. Why did Prabhupada say so much? Because he wanted us to do it so much, and he wanted us to be effective when we did it. So Prabhupada was very, very much keyed in